Good afternoon, y'all. We out here in this drive time traffic and this bumper to bumper gridlock. So guess what? I said, let's do a drive time story. So Steve moves to a new town. He goes to one of these big old super center stores that sells like everything, right? He applies for a job as a salesperson and he gets hired on. On his first day, his manager walks him through the process and shows him the ins and outs of the store and whatnot. And takes a phone call and he says, all right, Steve, I need to leave you for a little while. He goes, I'll be back to check on you. Well, it was the end of the day before the manager finally came back and looked at Steve and he goes, how'd you do today, man? Steve says, well, I only made one sale. The manager goes, only one sale? Oh, that's a little disappointing. My salespeople average 7 or 8 sales a day. So how much was your sale worth? And Steve goes, $327,492 and some change. The manager goes, damn, that much, huh? How in the world did you make a sale for $300,000 plus? And Steve goes, well, the dude came in here and I was showing him some little fishing hooks and I asked him, what kind of fishing do you like to do? And he says, well, I like deep sea fishing. So I showed him some bigger hooks, good for, catching those big old fish. And so now you're going to need some line to go with that. So I got him some 80-pound test line and showed it to him. And I said, now what kind of pole you use? And he told me about his pole. And I said, man, you need deep sea poles, dude. So we went and looked at some deep sea poles. And he bought 4 of them. I said, now, for that kind of fishing, you're going to need you a nice tackle box. So we went and looked at tackle boxes and, sold him some tackle as well. And then I said, so you like to have a cold one while you're fishing, don't you? And Steve said, he says, yeah. So I said, let's go look at some ice coolers. So we went and looked at some ice coolers. I sold him a cooler, sold him some ice packs, a couple of cases of beer. I said, now for that level of fishing, you're going to need you a nice boat. So we walked down to the motorsports department and sold him this big old boat, the big one with the twin Evinrudes on the back. And I said, now you're going to need you a trailer to put that boat on. So I sold him the trailer too. He said, now what kind of car do you drive? He says, I drive a Toyota Camry. I said, oh, you're going to need a truck to pull this big old boat and this big old trailer with all that nice fishing gear. So we went down and hooked him up with that brand new Dodge Ram 1500. The manager goes, that's pretty impressive right there. So I got questions, So you sold that man $300,000 worth of stuff and all he was looking for was little fishing hooks? He says, no, he wasn't looking for little fishing hooks. He was looking for tampons, and I told him, man, your weekend's already fucked. You might as well go fishing.